Hi, everyone.
Hi there.
It's Alicia Davis
And Stacy Watson.
from Transformative Leadership Strategies.
Yes, we are.
And we have been having amazing sessions around communication, haven't we, Stace?
Yes, I think we've mentioned in this forum many times, it's usually the number one topic that our clients are interested or curious about in terms of supporting leaders, right?
That's right. And a couple of weeks ago, we actually did a foundations session in our Communicate, Don't Alienate workshops, and we just did our nonprofit leadership roundtable yesterday. So right, we're always repurposing this. These are universal topics, right?
Absolutely.
So we did the deeper dive. So we set the foundation, right? Acknowledging and validating and clarifying and being curious, right? All those really listening to understand. And yesterday we talked about conducting difficult conversations.
Yes, and we kicked the session off by asking if anyone has ever had to lead and or participated in a difficult conversation. And surprisingly, every single person said yes.
So
Exactly.
surprising, right?
Right.
Raise my
Right.
hand.
It's such a
Speak.
universal situation. And as a leader, these conversations can take all different kinds of forms and shapes, right? Whether it's having to reprimand someone or maybe deliver news that people don't want to hear.
Yep.
There's just a
Around
million ways,
things
whether you're
around
in your personal
change
life or professional, but at work, it happens all the time. Unfortunately, it
all the
just
time.
does.
Yep.
Yeah,
Letting go of staff, change, right? Culture
exactly.
shifts,
And
all
we
of that.
And we talked about some of the reasons why those things are difficult. And, it really taps into those feelings of fear or feelings of being judged or feelings of hurting someone or delivering news that will not make someone happy or really upset them. And so that lack of connection, like feeling disconnected from someone,
Yes.
the person that you're working with or working, you're leading or they're managing you, it doesn't matter. That lack of connection can be really unsettling.
Yeah. And yes, all of those things. And what was actually super interesting to me was even one of the comments was, I won't be liked.
Yes.
So this whole thing, right? And we know these are universal themes, right? As human beings, we need connection.
Right.
And we want to be liked, even as leaders. And even though we know it's not always going to be that way, there's still underneath the surface that can cause exactly what you said, a lot of anxiety and frustration and overwhelm. And so we came up with 4 steps that really help. We and it seemed to yesterday it seemed to be very helpful to just how to think through how to have a difficult conversation. And it
Yeah.
wasn't just focused on thinking, it's also focused on managing those feelings.
Well, that's exactly
Okay.
right. And that's where we started. So when you were mentioning the feeling of, I might not be liked, really tapping into what are the feelings that are coming up for me as I even think about having this conversation.
That's right.
Whatever they are without judgment, but just understanding them. And then maybe even taking it one step further to say, what story am I making up about the situation? Maybe I've already decided in my mind exactly how it will go, and maybe it really won't go that way. Or maybe I'm assigning some intent or, purpose behind somebody's actions that may or may not be true. And, just being curious about some of that. So part
Hmm.
of what we talked about was slowing down to notice the feelings and really give yourself a chance to be really thoughtful about the situation before you just find yourself in the middle of it.
That's right. And we'll put a link in, right? We actually created a little worksheet, right? So step one was really this whole idea of self-preparation.
Right.
How do you self-prepare? And so part of the self-preparation is noticing what you're feeling. And if you're having a feeling, to actually take a few breaths,
Yes.
to maybe even begin to shift. And we talked about shifting out of saying, I am angry or I am frustrated, to I feel angry or I feel frustrated, right? To get a little objectivity.
Yes, absolutely. And it always is true. And yesterday was no different. People are always struck by just how taking a moment to breathe with intention makes a difference.
Breathing into the belly, right?
Exactly.
So we did these questions, right? So just to get it out of our heads, like who's involved and what's the issue? What problem am I trying to solve? And what you just said, what's the stories? And also to just think through what is the outcome that I want to achieve.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Begin with
Absolutely.
the end in mind. So
Yeah.
step one was self-prepare.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
we did step two, which was engage.
Yes, absolutely. And we sort of leaned heavily on our bestie, Brene Brown, who
Right.
we love
Uh,
and has just amazing insights around all things around vulnerability and connection and the role that shame can play. So we highly recommend following Brene Brown in every way, shape, and form. And she
Yes.
has some really interesting perspectives on difficult conversations.
Yeah, she has a model or an approach that she uses called a rumble,
Yes.
right? And I know there's a whole West Side Story connection that I didn't quite get. And, for purposes of today, we'll keep it short and sweet. But the rumble is really, how do you lean into being vulnerable? How do you stay curious? How can you really stick with the messiness of solving a problem or identifying a problem? And then it's also about, how do you circle back? And how do you
Yes.
just own your own stuff? And the other thing that she talks about in one of the quotes that we shared was, to listen with the same passion with which you want to be heard.
Yes, that really landed solidly, I think, with all of us yesterday. To listen with the same passion with which we want to be heard is a
Yep,
really, I think, amazing aspiration that we could all have in our conversations.
that's right.
Yeah.
So, and so the difficult conversation. So step one is self-prepare. Step two is do this engaging process. And then step three was, we said, acknowledge and appreciate. Acknowledge yourself for showing up, acknowledge the other person, appreciate whatever came up. And then step four was circle back. So just
Yes,
check in, right? A couple days, a week, just check in to
that's
see
right.
how things are going.
That's right. It allows for a little iteration. Maybe you don't solve everything in one conversation, but you can start to make gradual steps toward a new way to work through something.
That's right. So
Yeah.
we know today was a little longer than usual. We wanted to share those four steps with you. So thank you for listening. And
Yes.
if you have any questions, as always, reach out to us.
Yes. Thank you so much. Talk to you
All
next
right.
week.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.